Have you ever wondered what it felt like to drive pure elegance on wheels back in the 1940s? Today, we're traveling to an era when American automotive design was art, when every curve had purpose and every chrome detail gleamed like a jewel under the sun. In this video, I'll show you the 10 most beautiful American classic cars of the 1940s. Unique models with fascinating stories, unforgettable silhouettes, and engines that still make the hearts of true vintage car lovers race. If you're passionate about classic cars, timeless design, and the golden age of automotive culture that defined generations, you already know what to do. Hit the like button so more people can rediscover these forgotten gems, and subscribe to the channel to keep exploring the finest pieces of classic automotive history with us. Now sit back, relax, because what you're about to see are genuine masterpieces. 1940 Lincoln Continental. Do you know what jazz, tailored suits, and the 1940 Lincoln Continental have in common? They're all timeless symbols of elegance. But this car wasn't just elegant, it was a symphony on wheels. A declaration that American luxury could look Europe straight in the eye and say, with absolute confidence, we can create art too. Let's go back to where it began. In the late 1930s, Edsel Ford, son of the legendary Henry Ford, wanted something different. He wasn't after just another car. He wanted a machine with soul, with European flair, something that looked like nothing else on American roads. That's how the Lincoln Continental was born. It wasn't designed in a boardroom. It was sketched on napkins, dreamed up during European vacations, and brought to life by designer Bob Gregory. It wasn't a product. It was a passion-turned-icon. When the first Continental debuted in 1940, it was impossible to ignore. With its long hood, clean lines, low profile, and the now iconic rear-mounted spare tire, the car looked as though it belonged to another era, one that hadn't yet arrived. It demanded attention. It invited admiration. It made you imagine yourself behind the wheel, gliding down a coastal road with leather gloves and sunglasses, the wind whispering through the chrome. Under the hood, the Continental carried a 4.8-liter V12, producing around 120 horsepower. Its language wasn't speed, it was smoothness. This wasn't a car built to race, it was built to float, to turn every journey into an experience of grace, where even the engine's purr felt like a whisper rather than a roar. And here's what makes it even more special. When Edsel Ford showed the prototype to his friends, they all wanted one. Before it even entered official production, there was already a waiting list. It was desired before it existed. In 1940, Lincoln produced only about 400 Continental units. It was exclusive, untouchable, and that made it legendary. Today, it's more than just a classic. It's a piece of art that still breathes elegance, a rolling masterpiece that captures the exact moment when America decided it could do more than build strong cars. It could create beauty. 1948. Tucker, 48. Imagine stepping out of a world war. The entire planet is rebuilding, factories are returning to life, and after years of silence, cars are once again rolling down the streets. Everything seems to be returning to normal. Everything except Preston Tucker. While the automotive industry tried to pick up where it left off, Tucker arrived with an idea that looked less like a car and more like a glimpse of the future. That's how the Tucker 48, also known as the Torpedo, was born. A car that didn't just challenge the rules, it rewrote them from scratch. Just look at it. That low, almost ground-hugging stance. The smooth, uninterrupted bodywork free of unnecessary ornamentation, and that third central headlight that swiveled with the steering wheel, lighting up the curves before you even turned into them. In 1948, that wasn't innovation, it was science fiction. But what made the Tucker truly ahead of its time wasn't just its looks, it was its obsession with safety. While other automakers barely considered seatbelts, Tucker designed crumple zones to absorb impact, a pop-out windshield to protect occupants in a crash, and a front safety cell that acted as a survival compartment. Think about that. In an era when safety wasn't even part of the conversation, Tucker made it his foundation. Under the rear hood lived a horizontally opposed six-cylinder engine derived from an aircraft power plant tuned to produce around 166 horsepower, plenty to propel its aerodynamic body to speeds that made competitors nervous. And then came the tragic twist. The Tucker 48 was sabotaged. The major automakers, threatened by his innovation, applied political pressure until the project was crushed. Only 51 units were ever built before everything collapsed. Yet each of those 51 cars remains a jewel today, a testament to what the future of the automobile could have been if only the industry had dared to follow Tucker's vision. 1941 Chrysler Thunderbolt. If I told you that in 1941 there existed a car that looked like it came straight from the future, would you believe me? Because that's exactly what the Thunderbolt was, a rolling vision of what didn't yet exist, a whisper of what cars could become when design and audacity dared to dream higher than ever before. At first glance, the Thunderbolt doesn't look like a car from the 1940s. It looks like something out of a 1960s science fiction film. Its seamless aluminum body had no visible handles, no window frames, hidden headlights, and a fully electric retractable hardtop. In 1941, it was a glorious anomaly, a misunderstood masterpiece decades ahead of its time. Designed by Ralph Roberts of the legendary LeBaron Studio and hand-built by Briggs Manufacturing, only 6 units were ever made. Each one was slightly different, like a numbered work of art based loosely on the Chrysler New Yorker chassis. But that's where the similarities ended. The all-aluminum body and wraparound windshield were completely revolutionary for the era. Under that sculpted skin sat an inline-8 engine producing 143 horsepower. But let's be honest, the Thunderbolt wasn't built to race, it was built to dazzle. It was a moving showcase of Chrysler's creative power, a way to tell the world, this is what tomorrow will look like, and we're building it today. Here's a detail most people don't know. The Thunderbolt was the first American car with a fully electric retractable hardtop. No levers, no manual effort, just the push of a button, and it transformed from a closed coupe to an open convertible as if by magic. That technology wouldn't become common until more than a decade later. Now stop for a moment and imagine what it must have been like to see one of these rolling down the street in 1941. In a world still full of boxy cars, the Thunderbolt looked like a UFO, a machine that didn't belong to its own time, but to ours. And now I want to ask you directly, because you're part of this community that truly feels the soul of these classics. If you could own just one of the 6 Thunderbolts ever made, knowing it's practically a museum piece, what color would you choose? Would you take it out for a drive or keep it locked away like a treasure? Let me know in the comments. 1941, Cadillac Series, 62. If you closed your eyes and tried to picture a car that embodied the golden glamour of old Hollywood, chances are this is what you'd see. A Series 62, gliding down Sunset Boulevard with a movie star behind the wheel and a rising starlet beside him. Because this wasn't just a car. It was a red carpet on wheels. The 1941 Cadillac wasn't the first luxury car in the world, but it was one of the first to blend cutting-edge technology with a design that looked sculpted to command attention. Its low, long, and fluid body broke away from the boxy lines that still dominated the market, and its split front grille became an instant icon. From any angle, the Series 62 looked like it was moving, even when it wasn't. But what truly made this Cadillac unforgettable wasn't just its imposing presence. It was the way it made you feel when you stepped inside. It was like entering a private lounge in motion. Interiors wrapped in the finest leather and fabrics, chrome details glinting from every corner, and a dashboard that looked more like a piece of jewelry than an instrument panel. This wasn't a car you drove, it was one you experienced, like a fine wine or a jazz piece played just for you. Under the hood, the Series 62 packed a 5.7-liter V8 engine producing around 150 horsepower. An impressive figure for its time, but Cadillac's focus wasn't raw power, it was grace. The suspension was tuned to glide effortlessly over the road, insulating passengers from the outside world. You could drive across an entire city without feeling a single bump. Here's a fascinating detail. The 1941 Series 62's design was so well received that it became the foundation for Cadillac's post-war lineup. It was one of the last true luxury cars built before the company shifted production to support the war effort, which makes owning one today like holding a preserved fragment of a vanished era. And yes, it really was the car of Hollywood royalty. Clark Gable and Rita Hayworth were both known to own one, and it's no coincidence. The Series 62 stood for success, sophistication, and understated glamour. It wasn't a car for just anyone. It was for those who knew that true elegance doesn't shout. 1941. Packard 180. Convertible Victoria. Some cars weren't built for the road. They were built for the spotlight, for magazine covers, for mansion driveways where the sunlight dances across their curves like on a museum sculpture. And among those, few shine with as much grace as the Packard 180 Convertible Victoria. This wasn't a car you bought, it was a car you commissioned. It existed because someone, somewhere in the world's most exclusive circles, had dreamed it. Designed by the legendary Howard Dutch Darren, the Packard 180 was the perfect fusion of American engineering and European artistry. Dutch had worked in Paris before the war, and his love for French elegance could be seen in every contour, every proportion, every refined gesture of this majestic convertible. Unlike mass-produced cars, the Darren Convertible Victoria had a low, sweeping profile with fluid lines that gracefully wrapped around the rear fenders, giving it a soft, sculpted silhouette. The front grille leaned slightly backward, adding a subtle sense of motion even when the car stood still. Beneath that beautifully shaped hood lived a 356 cubic inch inline-8 engine producing 160 horsepower. But let's be honest, the Packard 180 Darren wasn't about power. It was about presence, quiet, refined, almost ceremonial. Driving it was like walking into a ballroom where every head turned toward you before you'd even stepped out of the car. And here's the astonishing fact. Only about 35 units of the 1941 Packard 180 Darren were ever produced. Each one hand-built, each one different, each one a piece of haute couture on wheels. Can you imagine what that means today? Owning one is like holding a one-of-a-kind chapter of automotive history in your hands. The interior matched the exterior's artistry, top-grade leather upholstery, real wood trim, and gauges so finely crafted they could have come from a jeweler's workshop. Every inch of this car spoke of class, taste, and an era when luxury wasn't a label. It was an experience. 1948 Buick Roadmaster. If the 1940s were a canvas on which automakers painted their post-war dreams, then the 1948 Buick Roadmaster was one of its most dazzling masterpieces. This car wasn't just elegant, it was a statement, a proclamation that America had emerged from the war not only with industrial might, but with a new language of luxury, power, and beauty on wheels. One look, and you understand why it was called Roadmaster. It ruled the road. Its long, low, and flowing silhouette was dressed in generous amounts of chrome, from the waterfall-style grille to the gleaming accents running along its body. Every line seemed designed to catch the sunset as the car glided by with near-aristocratic grace. The convertible version added an even deeper layer of exclusivity. With its retractable cloth top and spacious cabin, it felt like an open-air lounge where the wind and the hum of the engine composed their own symphony. Speaking of engines, the Roadmaster was powered by Buick's robust Fireball Straight 8, producing around 150 horsepower, paired with the revolutionary Dynaflow automatic transmission, one of the first in the world. The result was a ride so smooth it felt like silk, perfect for cruising down America's most glamorous boulevards. But the Roadmaster wasn't just for executives or movie stars, it was for those who had survived the hard years and wanted to celebrate. Buying one in 1948 was a declaration of triumph, a way of saying you'd made it to the other side. You weren't just buying a car, you were buying an experience. Here's a little-known fact. In Buick's period brochures, the Roadmaster was always shown in luxurious settings, in front of theaters, five-star hotels, and private clubs, because the brand knew this car didn't belong just anywhere. It belonged at the center of attention. Now, let's make this personal. Imagine it's 1948, and you've just earned the chance to start fresh. You can choose one car to mark your new beginning. Would this Buick be your pick? And what color would you choose? Deep wine red, midnight black, or elegant ivory? Tell me in the comments. 1949, Oldsmobile 88. In 1949, something changed forever in the American automotive world. It was the year a new kind of car was born, bolder, faster, more rebellious, and leading that revolution was the Oldsmobile 88, a machine that didn't just mark a transition, it ignited an era. At first glance, the 88 didn't look all that different from its contemporaries, but the moment you pressed the accelerator, you realized this car had something the others didn't: a racer's soul. Powered by the legendary Rocket V8, a 5.0-liter engine producing 135 horsepower, an impressive number for its time, the 88 was light, agile, and startlingly quick. It was the first time a mid-size chassis had been paired with a high-performance V8. The result? The unofficial birth of the American muscle car. Beyond its power, the 88's design was clean, modern, and free of unnecessary ornamentation. It embodied the new post-war American aesthetic: smooth lines, balanced proportions, and just the right touch of chrome. Tasteful, not excessive. Its wide, low-profile grille and confident stance made a bold statement. This is where something new begins. And begin it did. The Oldsmobile 88 quickly made a name for itself, on both the streets and the racetrack. It dominated the early years of NASCAR, leaving behind larger, heavier, and more expensive competitors. In no time, it earned the respect of racers and the desire of young drivers who crave speed without sacrificing style. But here's the fascinating part. For all its performance, it was still an affordable family car. That made it an aspirational symbol, a car for dreamers, not just the wealthy. You didn't need to be a millionaire to own one, just someone with taste and a hunger for excitement behind the wheel. Today, it's remembered not only as a beautiful classic, but as the spark that lit a revolution. A car that, without ever intending to, changed how America understood the bond between design and performance. 1946, Chevrolet Fleetline Aero Sedan. When the war ended and factories returned to making cars, people weren't looking for extravagance. They were looking for beauty, with both feet on the ground, comfort, elegance, and a fresh start. That's when the Fleetline Aero Sedan arrived, with its fastback silhouette and a presence that spoke of style without showing off. This model was one of Chevrolet's first major post-war releases and quickly became a symbol of hope. Its design broke away from the squared lines of the previous decade, embracing a body that was curved, fluid, and inviting. The fastback profile, that smooth roofline tapering gracefully toward the rear, gave it an aerodynamic flair rare among cars in its price range. It looked as if the wind itself had sculpted it, but it wasn't just about looks. The Aero Sedan offered a spacious interior, simple yet well-finished materials, and a ride that was both smooth and reliable. Under the hood lived the Stove-Bolt 6, a 3.5-liter inline six, delivering around 90 horsepower. Modest on paper, but more than enough to move with dignity and style across the roads of a dreaming America. The front grille was bold and gleaming, stretching from headlight to headlight in a horizontal sweep that gave the car a friendly yet commanding face. Chrome accents along the fenders and subtle badging on the sides added refinement that made this Chevrolet feel far more luxurious than its price suggested. What made the Fleetline Aero Sedan remarkable was its ability to bring advanced design to the masses. In an era when curves and aerodynamics were reserved for expensive luxury cars or show prototypes, Chevrolet managed to place that futuristic beauty in the hands of everyday families. That was its great legacy. It democratized good taste. It made thousands of Americans feel that they could own something special, not just a means of getting from place to place, but a piece of the future. 1940 Buick Super Series 50 Coupe. If you had to draw the very concept of elegance in the 1940s, you'd probably end up sketching something very close to the Buick Super Series 50. This car wasn't just transportation. It was a design statement, the precise moment when the American auto industry began leaving behind the rigid shapes of the past to embrace smooth, enveloping curves that would define the decade. The first thing that caught every eye was its integrated fenders, a revolution at the time. Until then, most cars still had exposed, separate fenders that looked like afterthoughts. Buick went further, blending them into the main body, creating a seamless, unified sculpture on wheels. Its vertical waterfall grille, dripping in chrome, managed to look both imposing and refined. The long, elegant hood stretched forward with quiet authority, hinting at strength without boasting, and the roof line flowed down gently to the rear, achieving perfect proportions and visual harmony, something few cars of its era ever captured so gracefully. Beneath the hood lay an inline 8 with the overhead valves, famous for its durability and smooth delivery. It produced about 107 horsepower, enough to make the Super 50 a confident, whisper-quiet cruiser. It didn't roar. It whispered confidence. Inside, Buick spared no effort. Thick fabric upholstery, wood grain details, and a precisely designed dashboard where every button had both purpose and aesthetic value. Sitting inside felt like entering a private salon, a space of mechanical calm designed not only to take you somewhere, but to surround you in refinement. And here's a little-known fact. In 1940, Buick ranked as the fourth best-selling brand in the United States, and cars like the Super Series 50 were largely responsible for that success. They offered accessible luxury and forward-thinking design, attracting both young professionals and seasoned businessmen who wanted something refined without drifting into excess. 1949, Mercury 8 Coupe. Some cars weren't just built to be driven, they were built to be transformed, customized, and worshipped. The Mercury 8 Coupe is one of them. Born at the end of a decade defined by elegance and reconstruction, this car arrived just in time to announce something entirely new: the birth of a young, rebellious, and deeply emotional car culture. At first glance, it already stood apart. Its low, wide, flowing body gave it a more aggressive stance than most cars of its time. The smooth curves, integrated fenders, and rounded roofline spoke of a new era in design. Less ornamental, more muscular, almost cinematic. And indeed, it wouldn't take long before it became a movie star. Under the hood, the 255 cubic inch flathead V8 delivered around 110 horsepower, providing smooth yet confident performance. But what really made it famous wasn't its technical sheet, it was its attitude. This car had presence, it had personality. In a parking lot, it didn't just sit among other cars, it commanded the scene. That commanding presence made it the foundation of 1950s custom culture. Young enthusiasts began taking the Mercury 8 Coupe and reshaping it into something new, lowering the suspension, shaving off the chrome trim, lengthening the fenders, painting the bodies in deep metallic tones, and fitting throaty exhausts that growled with soul. Thus was born the lead sled, one of the purest expressions of American automotive individuality. And who immortalized it? James Dean. In Rebel Without a Cause, his character captured the spirit of an entire generation. Even though the car in the film wasn't precisely a 1949 Mercury, it was enough to cement the model as a symbol of rebellion, restless youth, and freedom. Owning one wasn't just about having a vehicle. It was about belonging to a movement. Ironically, when Mercury first launched the 8 Coupe, it was intended as a conservative, mature car, something refined, positioned between Ford and Lincoln. And with that, we close our journey through one of the most elegant decades in automotive history. 10 machines that weren't just cars, but declarations of style, luxury, and vision for the future. The 1940s didn't just mark the end of an era. They gave birth to a new way of understanding beauty on wheels. So now I want to ask you, which of these classics captured your heart? Because here, we don't just look, we feel. So scroll down and tell me, which of these cars would you take home without a second thought? And which one would you add to this list if you could? Don't leave without commenting. Your words help this journey through automotive history reach more passionate souls like you. And if you're craving more, you already know where to go. Click now on our video about the most expensive American cars of the 1940s. I promise what you'll see there will leave you breathless. See you there.